Happy New Year, everyone. I hope that all of you were able to find joy and rest over the holidays. This is the January 6th meeting of the Rotary Club of Columbus. We are joining you today virtually from the boardroom of the Trade Center. We were having some technical difficulties earlier, so it's going to feel a little bit different today as we get back into the swing of doing virtual only. I'm so appreciative of past President Ryan for his efforts in being our multimedia guru here behind the scenes. Want to re-enter the new year with hope and optimism for better days ahead. We know that we've got a few more difficult months ahead of us as we finish up winter and hopefully get to the far side of the pandemic. But so thankful for the role that all of us as Rotarians get to play in continuing to help our community get through these difficult times. Before I call on Adrian Chester to lead us in an invocation in accordance to his faith tradition, we want to, as a club, extend our condolences to the family of Rotarian Edgar Chancellor following the death of his son, AC. We ask that his memory be for a blessing. We also want to extend our condolences to the family of past President Billy Key. Billy was a member of our club for 63 years. He was president of our club in the years, I believe it was 1965 and 66. So, I mean, tremendous legacy that he leaves within our club. And so we remember his family and all of us that were friends of Billy's during this time. And it's now my pleasure to call on Rotarian Adrian Chester to lead us in an invocation to start the new year.
Thank you, President Joe. Let us pray. God of our weary years, God, you are one who has heard all of our silent tears. And as we stand at the opening of this new year, we thank you for your spirit, your grace, your love, and your peace being the virtues that have guided us to this point. And God, we ask that as we move into this year and continue to serve as Rotarians, that we will walk in obedience with your word, as your word declares unto us in Matthew 25, that when we've done it unto the least of these, we've also done it unto you. So God, teach us how to look and listen, how you are calling us to be your voice, your hands, and your feet in this world. Thank you for the leadership of our club. Thank you for those who are making sure that we stay connected during this time. It's in the strong but sweet name of Jesus we do pray. And we all said, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Adrian, for leading us to that. We would typically recognize a soldier. At this point in the meeting, we will pick that back up next week. I want to just remind everybody that not only are we virtual only for this week, we're also going to be virtual only for next week as well. We have seen, as we anticipated, larger increases in local case counts for COVID coming out of not only Thanksgiving break, but we anticipate, probably the numbers will continue to go higher following the Christmas and New Year's breaks. We ask that you guys continue to stay diligent with your mask wearing, with maintaining your social distance. You keep loving each other. We can get through this together, and we're going to get through this together. We do have an upcoming initiative that I want to call attention to. We are raising awareness. We're going to be doing a book drive to support the Local Literacy Alliance. This is the organization that has the annual dictionary project that we've been involved with for a number of years. In the month of February, during our meetings, we're going to have collection bins where folks can bring new or gently used children's books for collection for redistribution back out into the community. So I encourage you folks to, as you're doing your New Year's cleaning, be on the lookout for books that you could donate for that initiative. Carol Ridley is going to be heading that up for us. There's an email that's gone out from the office. For those of you that have additional questions or how to get more involved with that, please reach out to Carol or the office. I'm trying to think. We've got really no other announcements today, which is great because it gives our speaker more time for their program. It's now my my honor to call on past President Betsy Covington to introduce today's program.
Thank you, President Joe. It is a pleasure to be with you guys today to give you a little bit of an introduction to an individual who is fast becoming one of my dear friends. We are very lucky to have Jerald Mitchell in our community as the president and CEO of our Greater Columbus Chamber of Commerce. Y'all have heard me say before that when I came to the Community Foundation 20 years ago, I was told that the three-legged stool that every community needs to get things done includes a strong community foundation, a strong United Way, and a strong Chamber of Commerce. We partner with government, we partner with philanthropists, we partner with business and with education to help things happen in our community. And I am thrilled to tell you that with Jerald in his position and the wonderful Ben Moser in his position at United Way, our area is in great hands. Those of us at the Community Foundation have got to step it up. We've got to keep doing a great job. So I also was lucky enough to serve on the search committee that persuaded Jerald to come to our community. And when I say persuaded, I need to tell you, and I think I'm speaking on behalf of fellow Rotarian Cedric Hill as well, who served on the committee with me. When we talked to Jerald, it took us about 3 minutes to think, this is the guy. This is the person that we need in our community to help our multi-county area move forward into the future, to take advantage of opportunities and to create those opportunities. And we're very excited that Jerald said yes. He brought with him Stephanie Mitchell, his wife, who is, if anything, maybe even better than Jerald, but we'll let y'all be the judge of that. Stephanie is an attorney who does work nationally and internationally and is a great example of the kind of talent that we want to attract to our area. She's able to work remotely, so truly she can be anywhere and do her work. And we're thrilled that she's doing it here in our community. Jerald at the Chamber is now leading the charge since August to advance our regional economy through economic development, innovation, community engagement, corporate development, existing industry growth and resilience, and redevelopment. Prior to assuming this role, he served as Vice President of Economic Development at the Atlanta Beltline. He's worked in economic development fields for 13 years, gaining expertise in job attraction, private investment, inclusive economies, land strategy, technology, and corporate development. He's our guy, y'all. Before that, he was in the telecommunications industry and worked with cable systems operation across a variety of different strategies and platforms. He serves as a trustee or board member on several boards that y'all might be interested in, including the Georgia Institute of Technology Alumni Board, Leadership Georgia Board of Trustees, Georgia Public Telecommunications Commission, Georgia Innovates Task Force, and the Georgia Workforce Investment Board. He holds a master's degree in global business from Georgia Tech and a bachelor's degree in economics from Georgia Southern University's Armstrong campus. Y'all also may know that as of this month, I am chairing Columbus 2025, our long-range plan for inclusive creation and taking advantage of opportunities to increase prosperity, reduce poverty, and improve the quality of life for everybody. That effort lives at the Chamber, and I'm so grateful for the leadership that Jerald has already shown us. And just so excited about Doing Times because I feel so good about where he's going to take us. So with that, I want to say welcome to the Rotary Club, to Jerald, and we look forward to hearing your words today. Thanks, sir.
Hey, good morning and Happy New Year. Thank you so much, Betsy. I really appreciate that, and your words couldn't be truer. You and Rick have been so supportive, and I would say the same for the rest of the community. As we've made our transition into Columbus, it has been fascinating to start to get to know people here and to learn more about the community. I also want to send an acknowledgement to Ben McMinn and to Josh Beard here on the Chamber team, who actually facilitated my presentation, or my getting on the agenda for the presentation today. Also, again, we'd love to thank Pace Salter, our chairman, chairman of the Chamber Board, Russ Carricker, chairman of the Development Authority Board, chamber supporters, any past chairman of the board that are on the call, and chamber members and supporters. Thank you all so much. I have to acknowledge that this group advanced the chamber work for about a year without a CEO on board, and that in and of itself is a fantastic feat. And again, I couldn't be more fortunate to have such a strong team that I'm coming into and being able to work with. I'll be brief today. I've got a presentation. I'm going to share the screen here in just a second. Again, just talk a little bit about what I've observed. And caveat, please know that I am still learning. This presentation, its content, our strategy right now are moving targets. We're trying to make sure that we're doing the right thing to not only support our community, but support growth and economic inclusion, economic mobility, greater economic development for the Columbus area. So with that, I'm going to start the presentation. Let's see. There we go. There we go. Okay. So just as an agenda, I'll talk a little bit about who we are, some general observations, opportunities, path forward, and I'll take questions if there are any. As the Chamber, we're a membership organization with primary responsibility for member engagement, creating a platform where businesses can grow and can interact with other potential clients or service providers. In addition to that, we have strong interest and focus in community engagement, being able to do things that support positive engagement and growth throughout our community, as well as connectivity from the community to the business community. We're also responsible through the Greater Columbus Chamber of Commerce for legislative advancement and advocacy, working to make sure that on an annual basis, a legislative agenda gets curated and then communicated, and that we're well positioned to bring great wins and positive advancement from a legislative standpoint back to our community. In addition to that, we are the implementation or activity arm of the Columbus or Muskogee County Development Authority. We handle the day-to-day economic development activity and are working to further grow and develop economic opportunities for our community. In addition to that, we are leadership and staff support for the community initiative that's Columbus 2025. And by the way, I'll make a comment about Columbus 2025 and how impressed I am that this community was forward-thinking enough to go down this path years ago. I think that it covers a lot of the components, a lot of the items that your typical economic development authority or chamber of commerce get beaten up for not doing. And it is refreshing to see that the Columbus community banded together to start to drop some of these components and advance this community initiative that is Columbus 2025. I'm really excited about it, and I think that it's going to be one of the things that helps us emerge stronger after we get through the global pandemic. We've got regional responsibility in terms of leading a partnership with economic development agencies throughout the region. In, for instance, Talbot and Marion and Chattahoochee counties. We also view Harris County and Phoenix City as partners in our economic development effort. And again, working together, we think that we can not only do a better job of attracting new companies and private investment to our region, but growing economic opportunities for people who live here. And then the other component of who we are is really the Startup Columbus component that really focuses on support for startups and entrepreneurs in our community. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in detail in one of the future slides. So observations. I was really blown away at how giving the Columbus community is. The level of corporate support, not only with dollars, but with activity, actions, getting involved, rolling up sleeves is very impressive. And the same is for the philanthropic support that is clearly present in this community. Again, those are great foundational points, and I am excited that that exists here. To expand on the point about Startup Columbus, one of the things that really drove our decision to be here is how blown away we were with the culture of innovation in Columbus. I had no idea before I started the interview process how many companies were born and grown and became successful here in the Columbus community. Thinking about Coca-Cola, thinking about Synovus and W.C. Bradley and TSYS and Aflac and Salt Life, and the list goes on. And it says something about the culture of a community that can grow and support those types of activity. And through endeavors like Startup Columbus, we think we're well positioned to do more of that. So to the extent that you know or that you are an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, we should talk because, again, the infrastructure here is available and it's good. And it should be certainly available to support the growth of new companies. So, again, that's something that I think is a great opportunity for us. Assets. There is certainly good bones. There are good bones. There's infrastructure here. We've got a great airport, access to interstates. There is certainly rail infrastructure. There are human resources that also contribute to the infrastructure landscape. So there are tools and things here to work with. There's available property. And most of all, the quality of life in Columbus, I think, is fantastic and something that we can leverage to drive economic growth. Small town, not really. I put that there because one of the things that strikes me is that the Columbus community speaks of itself frequently as a small town. And I would argue that it's not. I think that if you look at just the southeastern U.S., there are very few cities that are comparable cities that are larger than Columbus. I think that if you look at, for instance, Greenville, if you look at Columbia, South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, Savannah, if you look at Mobile, Montgomery, Chattanooga, all of those cities are smaller than Columbus in terms of population. The city that's most comparable, I think, is probably Birmingham because the population numbers are relatively similar. And we've got several Fortune 500 or Fortune headquarters that are located here. So again, we shouldn't underestimate that we are larger and that we've been a community for its size that punches above its weight, for lack of a better way to put it. As a result of that, I think one of the things that we can also say from a statistical standpoint is that growth has been relatively slow. We're looking at over the last 10 years, I think about a 4% to 5% growth rate in population. And if you look at other comparatively sized or comparably sized cities in the South, their growth rates are double digit. I mean in the tens, not in the 20s of percentages, but again, there's some opportunity there. We're a talent exporter. Frequently, our best and brightest are going to seek opportunities in larger cities or other cities. So that's, I think, an opportunity for us. Vibrant pockets. There are certainly things that we should leverage to continue a positive growth trajectory. The river, the new or the life that is happening in the historic district and uptown. Thinking about the Dragonfly Trail and other assets that are here that certainly drive vibrancy. Midtown. Again, we should build upon that. And then one of the other things that sticks out is the kind of the stay away Atlanta thought process. And I get it. We don't want to be Atlanta. And that is, I think, fine. But I think that we should look at Atlanta less competitively and look at it as a leverage opportunity for us as it relates to investment and as it relates to strategic or target industries from an economic development standpoint, as those things might be leverage points that we can complement and catalyze our own growth. And the biggest thing that sticks out as an observation about the Columbus community is that people care. People may not always agree, but what I do find is that the people that I've interacted with genuinely care about this community and about its growth and about its ability to move forward. And I think that above all of the other things is something that is positive and we can absolutely work with. Opportunities. So strategic alignment and positioning. I think that that's an opportunity in the near term. And what I mean by that is looking at target industry sectors from an economic development standpoint so that we're not approaching it or approaching growth and attraction and private investment with a wide approach. We're looking at where we can be competitive and where we can win. So narrowing the focus to those areas. Obviously, we will talk to anybody that wants to create jobs here and try to be helpful to them in doing that. But again, I think from a day-to-day strategic standpoint, we should be looking at the arenas where we can have the biggest impact and achieve the most success. Diverse property options. I think that we've got a ton of different types of property. We've got an industrial park. We've got assets that are inactive and distressed, that are maybe old buildings, that are maybe not so old buildings, that are empty, that may need a little bit of updating. But again, we want to get better at putting those diverse property options out to would-be companies who would create jobs and drive private investment. Rural entrepreneurism, I think that is an opportunity for us as well. When you look at some of the rural areas that have amenities gaps, don't have grocery stores, those are things that I view as opportunities in the sense that the question that I believe we should be asking in those scenarios are like, does anyone want to be, a market owner? If someone wants to own a market that sells fresh fruit, fresh foods, those sorts of things, we should look at those as entrepreneurial opportunities. And I think the same thing goes for neighborhoods. If we have economically challenged or distressed neighborhoods, neighborhood entrepreneurism could be an opportunity for us to start to fill some of those needs and to grow jobs and to support new businesses in our community. Missing middle job opportunities is another scenario that I think is an opportunity for us in that manufacturing jobs are still the most straightforward and solid way of getting people into the middle class. And I think that as a part of what has already been happening as it relates to building out the industrial parks, getting pad-ready sites done, and then focusing on our attraction and recruitment efforts in those sectors, I think that has been a good thing that the community has been doing, and we should continue to do that. We should put it on hyperdrive if we can. We need to stop exporting talent. And the way to stop exporting talent is going to be to create opportunities so that the young people can see a career and can advance their dreams of having a family in our community. We want to further address livability. And again, I go back to things like the Dragonfly. If you can't tell, I've got a little bit of a bias because of my past career at the Atlanta Beltline. I think that this is absolutely an economic driver. And I'd like to be a part of leveraging it as such. Those are things that help us retain talented workforce. And to the extent that we're retaining talented workforces, I think that becomes very attractive and appealing to companies that are looking for new places to call home. We want to leverage the entire region. There are parts of the region that may have assets that we don't have in Muskogee County, and Muskogee County has assets that other parts of the region don't have. We need to do our part in terms of making sure that messaging is cohesive and that we are driving that leverage so that we can all see success. And again, innovation and entrepreneurism, I spoke to that. That is a huge opportunity, especially as a lion's share of jobs in our country are still created by small business. And this is our opportunity to support and stand up new small businesses. Again, specifically on the Economic Development Authority front, as I see some opportunities, these things stand out to me. Again, redevelopment, looking at distressed or inactive nodes that could be catalytic to further development and growth. We should be looking at those. And obviously, that redevelopment activity should be compatible. All types of development are not good, but all types of all types of redevelopment are not bad either. Workforce, again, curate the right workforce. Startup culture is huge in terms of our economic development opportunity. Refining our target industry sectors, advancing regionalism, and strengthening support for small businesses, making sure that there are the right tools, making sure that they have the ability to achieve financial success, that they're getting mentorship when they need it from organizations like SCORE and other organizations. And then again, I go back to the Dragonfly and the arts community are, I believe, crucial to how we support, develop, retain the workforce. So path forward. Again, I think that ways that we can work to retain talent are through affordable living options, working through amenities that make people want to live and stay here. And again, making sure that there are opportunities, employment opportunities where people can have a career, where they can achieve financial success, where they can achieve whatever career success it is that they covet. Corridor focus, connect active areas. So when we look at, just as an example, active areas being Midtown and Uptown, how do we make sure that there's enough connected tissue so that those synergies can create broader and bigger growth? Leverage the Dragonfly. Again, the COVID environment, I think, has shown us or has proven that people want to be outdoors again. This is an opportunity to capture people that don't live in Columbus who want to live in a place where they can enjoy the outdoors. Promote equitable development. Support compatible development opportunities. Again, not all development is good, but not all development is bad. And we can say the types of development that we think make the most sense for our community. I want to be a part of that. Columbus 2025, again, it's an excellent tool and it has an extraordinary amount of post-COVID potential. And it can also help us better weather economic slowdowns. Communicate. We want to further advance getting Columbus on the map, which will be a branding initiative or exercise that will work to advance or promote externally all the things that we love and that everybody else should know about Columbus. Make the distance between Columbus and Atlanta shorter. Again, there are a lot of dollars in terms of investment, in terms of economic activity that stay in the Atlanta metro. And I think that there's a large contingent that think that we're just too far away. Just a funny story. When I informed many of my friends in Atlanta that I was coming to Columbus, they were all really excited. They said, yes, great, we're so happy that you have this opportunity. But the next thing that they said was, we're so sorry or so sad that you're moving so far away. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, you're moving 4 hours away, right? And my response to that was, no, Columbus is an hour and a half away. Please continue to invite me to things, and I will continue to invite you to things in Columbus as well. So again, we've got to make the perception of the distance between Columbus and Atlanta shorter. Entrepreneurism, again, we talked to that. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but again, it's a part of the way that we can get there. We can support the growth and startup of new businesses. So again, just a very, very critical component. And at the end of the day, we've got to strengthen partnerships. The Chamber has enjoyed an enormous amount of support from many of our partners, many of your businesses, but we only expect that partnership and that support to grow, and we also want to do our part. So that's huge. Again, from an operational standpoint, we're making a little bit of an evolution to build upon the good work that's been happening in the past. We want to fine-tune our value proposition, make sure that you and that those people who aren't members of the Chamber of Commerce understand why you should be. We want to, for 2021, especially considering the COVID environment, we want to enhance or expand virtual networking options for you. So that you can continue to derive value from your membership with us, and so that many of you can find new clients. We're working on an events calendar so that you'll know what's coming up in 2021. And again, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. Amazon is there. It is an extremely convenient way to make purchases, but I would encourage you all, especially during these tough times, to support local businesses. That is all I have in this quick presentation. Again, please keep in mind that this presentation is going to be fine-tuned. I want to thank Joe Young and the members of Rotary for this opportunity, Betsy Covington for that great introduction. And Cameron, I'm going to pitch it over to you if you're there.
I am here. Good to see you, Jerald.
Likewise.
Echo the comments made by many people in the feed, and of course Betsy's wonderful introduction. That we're just really fortunate to have you here. Of all the places you can be and invest your time and your life and your skills, we're really lucky here in Columbus to benefit from your leadership. And I continue to hear that from so many people and friends of mine and people involved in the community that we're really lucky to have you. So There are a lot of questions here, and I don't know if I apologize to anybody who I miss, but there really are a lot to go through, so I want to jump right in. The first is, how much job growth at this point is expected for the region, and what is our benchmark for success?
Yeah, so that's a good question that I don't have the exact answer to. What I can tell you is that as we get through this first quarter, we want to do some additional economic analysis so that we can not only look at how we're doing and how existing industry is performing right now, what their needs are, but we want to look at those areas where we think there are growth opportunities outside of Columbus so that we can refine our pitch, so that we can build the toolbox that's going to bring those opportunities here. So in terms of how much economic growth is expected, I can't tell you that yet. I will be able to tell you that in the near term. But I would also say that, one of the benchmarks in my mind that really help us helps to inform the growth opportunity is looking at the poverty rate. As long as that rate is above 20%, there's an extraordinary opportunity. I think that depending on the resource that you look at, the data source that you look at, national averages are somewhere between 16 and 18%. There are some that run way lower than that. Again, it just depends on the source that you look at. Again, I would like to see those rates get sub 20%. And in addition to that, again, looking at growth and expansion, we've been lucky. Last year, all of our new job creation from an economic development standpoint came from companies that are already here. And just so you know, the statistics, 70 to 80% of all new job creation comes from companies that are already in your community. So we're doing that. We want to keep maintaining a platform where companies can continue to grow jobs here. Companies that are here can continue to grow jobs here. But we also want to capture that other 30% where we're bringing new companies in.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I'm so encouraged to hear you recognize that poverty rate is a critical area for improvement and attention and investment. Now, I know that's something that came out of the Regional Prosperity Initiative and into Columbus 2025. And I know there are a number of folks, including the Chamber, of course, really working to figure out how to improve that rate because it's so critical, particularly the child poverty.
Yeah, and that's a big one. In my past, when I was in Savannah, I worked on a poverty reduction initiative. And I'll tell you, the most beneficial thing that I received in terms of being a part of that was learning what poverty really is. And it is what we think and then some, right? A large portion of people that live in poverty are actually working, and they work more than 40 hours a week. They're just underemployed. Now, don't get me wrong, we still have those other issues that you think of that drive or contribute to poverty. But learning or knowing that it's people that are actually motivated enough to get up every day and go to work, they're just looking for a better opportunity. I think that speaks volumes to some of the low-hanging fruit.
Absolutely. Well, let me segue into a couple sort of transportation-related questions. The first being, do you think the lack of the interstate connection south of Columbus is a problem? And then a follow-up question to that, more northbound, is do you see much of a chance of high-speed rail between here and Atlanta? So starting with the interstate question, let's go there.
Yeah, so with the interstate question, I think it's a problem depending on the industry sector that you're trying to capture or depending on what you're trying to accomplish. If we were trying to be a global logistics player, then I think it presents a little bit of a challenge. But if we're talking about being, a fintech or a biotech hub, or frankly a tourism destination, I think those are less. It's less of a deal breaker, for lack of a better way to put it, than if we're trying to move the space shuttle down the interstate, or if we're trying to again move things to the port on a grander scale. So it just kind of depends. Would I love to see more interstate connectivity? Yes, and the reason I would like to see that is because it opens up the number of opportunities that we can leverage or locate here.
And how about the high-speed rail?
Oh, high-speed rail. So I think high-speed rail would be fascinating. I think it would be a wonderful opportunity when we look at a lot of the corporate headquarters that have located in the Atlanta metro. They have done that because of their ability to get direct international flights. Our ability to, and again, love Columbus Regional Airport. I am not saying anything negative about that, but again, I think that a lot of what we could benefit from an economic development standpoint is, again, that larger airport that's got the ability to get into international destinations for headquarters. I think that would prove to be an advantage. There are some detractions too, though. One is that, we should be spending as much money on our local economy as we can. And again, if high-speed rail leverages or gives people the ability to take more dollars out, that's bad. But the converse of that is it would allow people in Atlanta to make quicker day trips here into Columbus to spend their money here. So that would be a good thing. So I think high-speed rail could be a good thing, but we have to make sure that we're managing and cognizant of the things that are the negative of it.
Gotcha. Thank you. Here's a healthcare question. It seems to be a growing industry in Columbus. Do we have plans to continue to develop and leverage our healthcare niche, especially taking COVID-19 into consideration?
Yeah, so I think that, in my mind, healthcare is one of the no-brainers as it relates to strategic or target industries for good and bad reasons. The bad reason is that I read something, I guess it was a year or so ago, that said Columbus is one of the least healthy cities in the country. That's bad, and certainly we want to make sure that we build upon the healthcare infrastructure so that we can provide and achieve better healthcare outcomes. But the other side of it is from a growth, from a private investment, from an economic development standpoint, healthcare is a great thing for this community. We've got good infrastructure, 2 reputable hospitals that provide extraordinary care. We've got the Houston Clinic, we've got the VA facilities, we've got now the medical school presence. That infrastructure is great and it's foundational. And the question that I'm asking as it relates to that industry is what's next? Should we be looking at research and development as it relates to healthcare because we've got so much good infrastructure here? And if it's not research and development, what is it? So I am bullish on healthcare, great industry. We've got good infrastructure, and I think it can only grow.
Excellent. Education-related question. How can the Chamber develop the strongest possible partnership with our school system to ensure that our students are prepared for the job market, higher ed, and attracting employers and employees to live here and, as you said, raise their family?
Yeah. So I've had a fantastic conversation with Dr. Lewis, and I certainly like the direction that the public school system appears to be headed in. And I think that the partnership between the Economic Development Community, Chamber of Commerce, and the educational system can be enhanced. One of the things that I noticed or identified is what I would consider to be some strategic misalignments. And we have to have deeper conversations about how or where they get fixed. But, when a kid gets educated or one of our young people gets educated with a certain skill set, if it's, rocket science, if the school system came up with a program in rocket science, then what we need to make sure is that when that kid matriculates, that they are going to have the ability to get a job in rocket science in our community. If they can't get a job in rocket science in our community, we need to know and accept that they're going to find a job in rocket science in another community. So again, we need to take a look at kind of where the opportunities are as it relates to career paths. Once a young person gets into the industry or industrial sector of Columbus, and make sure that they're getting adequately prepared at the K-12 arena. I think we're going to enter into a world where more and more, college educations might not be what people want to do. Don't get me wrong, I've got two of them. I've got 2 degrees, so I value that type of education, but everybody doesn't need it to practice the thing that they want to practice. So again, we've got to make sure that those pipelines, are in sync so that we can actually have people flow from one end of the pipe to the other end of the pipe. Hope that answered that question.
Yeah, definitely. Final question, a little lighter. COVID-19 might have been the only thing that limited Rotarians' attendance more so than the intercity leadership trip. So many during that trip, that Wednesday was usually a slimmer crowd. And what's the future of intercity leadership trips given the pandemic, and any plans to reinstate or reimagine? Yeah, so we're gonna. So right now we're planning that we're gonna be able to do it in the fall. We haven't identified the city, but we'd like to be able to do it, especially with the COVID environment permitting. We want to make sure that options for cities will be cities that are going to help us not only validate the direction that we're taking as a community on so many different fronts, but help us dream a little bit about other actions that we can take to further advance the growth and health and prosperity of our community. So all of that to say, we're hoping that we get to do it this year. Good. Well, hey, with everything that's happening across the river that's so exciting, maybe Phoenix City could be the trip.
Yeah.
They have a lot of exciting things happening. Well, thank you so much. I know I didn't get to everyone's question, but it's 3 minutes past 1. Thank you again for your leadership and for spending your time with us today. I could talk to you all day, but I'm going to turn it back over to President Joe. Happy New Year, and we appreciate everything you do for us.
Thank you so much. Again, I appreciate this opportunity. Joe, thank you so much for having me. We want to be a good partner. If there are things that the Chamber can do, whether it's presentations, whether it's other engagement with you guys or with members, don't hesitate to reach out to me or my team.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I echo Cam's sentiments. We appreciate so much you presenting today. We're so happy to have you and Stephanie in the community and look forward to great things coming out of the Chamber. And we're happy to partner with you on those initiatives, do whatever we can to move the city forward in a positive direction. It's our custom as a club to recognize our speaker each week by donating a children's book to the Columbus Public Library on their behalf. So we're happy to do that. today. A book will be donated, inscribed with your name as a token of our appreciation for your spending time with us today and sharing your thoughts. So we again appreciate that very much. I want to just remind everybody on watching the broadcast today that a replay of today's broadcast will be available on Facebook shortly after the live broadcast concludes, as well as a YouTube link will be sent from the office later on. We've got at least a few more months of pandemic ahead of us, it seems like. I want to continue to encourage everybody, make sure you're wearing your mask, keep serving others above yourselves, keep loving your neighbor and taking care of each other. We're going to get through this together. We appreciate all of you, and we will be virtual again next week. So, set your time, your calendar reminder. Do not go to the Trade Center, but join us right here on the Facebook feed, and look forward to connecting with you then. Let's get to work.